What's going on, Coach?
On the background, have two of the worst teams in the NFL, Tennessee Titans and Miami Dolphins, playing each other for the ugliest NFL game of the season.
Oh, no, I did not make you do this during your team's broadcast.
Man, Jay Cutler's our quarterback, and we are terrible. Luckily, Tennessee had a bye week. So, yeah, it's all right, man. I've lost a little bit of faith in a lot of things over have to do with the pigskin the last 2 weeks.
I can imagine, dude.
So, yeah. And I have no interest in baseball right now either, so it's just been, been focusing on what's important right now, and what that is this little thing called, Ironman Louisville.
Yep, it's race week, man, and
race week.
Yeah, today is definitely an off day for me. I've been getting ready for my new roommate.
New roommate.
Yep, I got. If you go back in the annals of the Crushing Iron podcast, there's a lot of reference to a gentleman named CC, and he is moving to Nashville. He is in the transition, so for the next week or so, he's going to crash here. And I've been getting ready for him. I've been cleaning baseboards and washing off walls and turning my bachelor pad into a family home for CC.
I love it.
Yeah. So anyway, it's race week. What do you got going, man? I mean, where's your head?
I'm over. I was really antsy over the weekend. Luckily, I got to use some of the energy towards, messing with electricity and putting up some new lighting in our house. See, and this is on me. I made a huge mistake. Earlier this week, I went out on a limb and went and installed some more blinds.
Uh-huh.
And that just kind of jump-started, I think, my wife's like, oh, well, he's got all this time and this energy. Like, screw hiring a professional. Let's just do this on our own. And so, while I have to, blame a little bit of it on her, because I literally, this is how it went, literally. Hey, babe, I'm going to go ahead and get my run in real quick before it starts to rain. Hey, why don't we just put up this one light in the hallway? It shouldn't take long at all. Just real quick.
Mm-hmm.
And on the hallway, like literally on the stairs where it can't reach a ladder, we're on our tiptoes with the electricity. And of course, I'm like, yeah, okay, because, what else am I going to say? No. And that led to probably an hour and a half installation. And then the chandelier or whatever overhead light over our kitchen table.
Chandeliers?
Downstairs, yeah. I don't know if it's a chandelier. Well, anyway, I just did what I was told. But, yeah, race week, I am... listen, I already had a few things actually laid out to take because it looked as
You're packing your bags?
No,
your transition bags?
I'm packing my transition shorts. But what I was doing was I was laying out a few of my cold weather items, because as I mentioned on our 100 Days to Louisville video series that you can find on YouTube, is that for a minute there I was like, I'm gonna be straight up cold going into this race, and so I had laid out my arm warmers, some plastic bags, and even some like hardware type gloves that are full fingered that cost like $1.
Whoa.
Well, because instead of wearing regular gloves, like to keep my hands warm in like the low 40s, I can just take them off, throw them away, and throw them at a aid station.
Oh. Okay.
It's actually a good tip. Anyway, we ain't needing those.
No.
And the last I looked, the high is 83, low in the 60s. Very windy, which can make for a really tough day. So I've just been, I went for my run this morning. Next week, is laid out very calm, very relaxing for me. Heading to Louisville on Thursday, which you are as well. And the good thing is I'm already familiar with the course, so I'm not going to be driving the course or anything, and so I'm just starting to zone in and go through in my head my execution and dial in the details is where I'm at right now.
Yeah, you're visualizing.
I am visualizing.
I'm doing that a little
visualized on
bit
my
too.
run this morning, and just got some more visualizing to do.
Mm-hmm. So let's talk about the course a little bit. You're gonna. We know that the swim is a little bit different this year as far as seating and things like that. Correct?
Yeah, it is. It is. It
Plays
is
into your
a.
hands.
It is. Because we have in the past, and I was heavily debating on going this route again. Was just kind of waking up whenever. Not because the last thing I wanted to do, because I remember the first couple of years I did Louisville when it was a self-seed start, like people were literally were waiting in line in transition for it to open, doing their bike setup, and then you could literally see people running
To get in front of the line?
Yep, to get in the front of the line. And because then it was just, like I said, self-seed start. You could have the first person in the water, which more than likely was always a slower athlete, really worried about time and making the cutoff. And now it's a rolling start, meaning they have
Self-seeded
basically
rolling?
well, yeah, self-seeded to an extent, but it's more like a corral for a marathon. So they're going to have a sign with probably a sub 1 hour,
Mm-hmm.
and then 110 and then 120 and then 130 on your way back. And so the great thing about this, if you're listening, is first off, if you are tempted to go into a wave where you're not as fast, I would, unless you're really, 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 if you're a 2 hour, a 130, 140 somewhere, and you think I just want to get in the water get in the water and get going. I hope you're prepared. I hope you're prepared and okay to get swam over and trampled, because especially the guys and girls that swim sub 1 hour, they just don't care.
Mm-hmm.
They'll be swimming over and on top, and you'll be swapping paint, skin, nails, hair, you named it, probably picking a scab or two. You will be swapping it with everybody. And so the reason they do this is to make it safe. So whether you get in the water at 7:30 with the first wave, or whether you get in the water at 8 o'clock with the last wave, you still get the same amount of time to finish, not just the swim, but the entire race. But for me, I'm super pumped because you and I can just chill like we usually do, maybe even find that novelty store on the way down for a picture like we did 2 or 3 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And take our time, get to transition, not be in a hurry. Luckily I don't think CC is staying in our room, so we won't have somebody waiting on the corner for us yelling at you to get to transition on time. And
He will be there, though, yes.
I know he'll be there, and then we can just meander our way up to the corral of our choice, and where we see ourselves seating. And for me, that'll be in the 1 hour, the 1 hour and under mark, and I can begin the race there. So I'm pretty stoked about that. And then as far as strategy goes for me, there's two words I love to describe the swim and how you should want to execute it, and that is to find a rhythm and make it as uneventful as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the two things you should always remember when starting a swim: is find a good rhythm, relax, and just make it the most uneventful part of your day.
Yeah. And you're going to be up front, and you're a solid swimmer, so you're going to go out and do your thing. And I'm going to start probably a little bit, based on your advice right there, I'll probably start just a little bit back and do the same thing. Now, the things I look at and see people thinking about the most are, A, that first channel. What's that like? Is the current tough there? B, wetsuit. I think the wetsuit is going to be for sure, right? Based on we're not Mother Nature and we're not God, so I can't say that. But
I find it hard to believe it won't be. Yes,
it's been raining up there. It's going to rain the next couple of days, and though the temperature's kind of gone up, the daylight is shorter. There's not as much time to heat the water.
I find it really hard to believe it's not going to be wetsuit.
So, what about the channel? That's other than the current doesn't seem much there. I can't really remember, but it's more about the congestion, right?
Yeah, it's a very great word, great adjective. It's very, very congested. Some would say just straight up claustrophobic, condensed, however you want to call it. It's a lot of people in a small area, all fighting for position to get in the middle. Because if you're not in the middle, you're up against the shore and that island, or there's lots of limbs that have been downed and seaweed and grabbing things, and it's just it's like a mad dash to get yourself out of there, um, you know, to the other part of the race. And the other thing is that it's also you're swimming straight into the sun,
Mhm.
and so it's really hard to sight. And so I really I try to find my rhythm as quickly as possible, especially with this race, and I'll use some shorter strokes because while it may not be quote unquote against the current, you definitely won't be with it. And just to find my own space, maybe find some feet, maybe not, but just really the main goal is to get the straightest line I can to that first corner buoy, and then once I hit that, I'll know that at least I've got a straight shot to the finish line, and hopefully I can just elongate my strokes, really focus on a big heavy pull, and then go from there.
Hmm. So the actual distance of that first out to the turnaround is about, we think about a third of
I
the
think it's about no, I think it's less than that. I think it's like
700.
6 to 800. Yeah,
Okay.
between six. Yeah, so between 6 and 800.
And then, so I mean, even and I've talked about this before. You're going up in that you're protected a little bit along that island, but then once you get out into the channel, I was looking at pictures, which I have. I have plenty of video about Ironman Louisville on crushingiron.com, and I was looking at some of the photos and everything. And actually, you're in the channel, but even that is a little bit protected. There's like sort of a, I don't know, a peninsula or sort that kind of curls around. So it's not like straight into the current, I don't think. But it's still
Yep.
it's still a little, about 200 or so yards of, you're going to have to go a little bit harder right there, I think, once
Yep.
you get out around the island. And then, like you said, you
Agreed.
cruise in. And then there's a lot of space on the way down. I mean, it's a huge, wide river, and people spread out. And it's once you get out to the turn, the contact should be minimal
Mm-hmm.
on the way back
Yep.
in. Okay, so then you get out the bike and you run in through the transition. It's kind of a longer transition. Run through the crowd. It's awesome. And then you get down and get your bag, get in the tent, change it out, and then get out on the bike.
Yep.
There's a little bit of running there.
Yeah,
it's a
I would
little
say
longer.
it's a longer transition. Um, than most. It's a longer run, longer route. It's a gigantic transition area, so it's probably look from anywhere between I don't know 4 to 10 minutes.
Hmm.
And I think now that the weather is calling for a little bit warmer, um, that you should be able to keep that fairly minimal. Because before I was talking to a few of my athletes about make sure you allow yourself probably more on the 8 to 10 minute, maybe even 12-minute mark in terms of transitions, just because you're going to have to get out of your wetsuit. You're going to want to put on more layers, and so that generally takes time, and especially if you're going to go maybe into a bike jersey or arm warmers, plastic bag, toe, whatever it is, toe covers. You're going to be taking a little more time, especially putting on a wet body, and just the time that it takes. But now that looks like it's pretty much gone by the wayside, I mean, you should just straight up go. For me, I'll go gel flask, cliff shots in my back kit, helmet, glasses, shoes, go. No extracurricular activities. Get out there as quickly as I can, and get going.
Hmm. And once you get on the bike, the initial stages of that course is about 10 miles of flat along the river, right?
Yeah, 10 mile bumpier roads. Especially you got some railroad tracks there. So, yeah, but generally flat to uneventful. You really want to make sure that you take those careful and angle yourself appropriately going over the railroad tracks. You want to make sure that you aren't losing any bottles either, because the last thing you want to do is lose one of your major nutrition bottles over those one of those railroad tracks, which is also a reason why, this is a little bit jumping ahead, that if you are a person who will have all of your nutrition on board, that even if you don't anticipate stopping on special needs, then to always have one full replacement bottle there in case you do eject one at some point in the course. You can refill and be just fine. But yeah, those first, what I would say 10 to 20 miles even are fairly uneventful, and you should just kind of cruise and stay calm and getting a lot of calories. If you're in the 35 to 39 age group, I would suggest going probably close to threshold for the first for the first hour and a half to 2 hours.
Yeah. Really
And
put the
then trying
hammer
to
down
maintain
right
that.
out of the
Yeah,
water.
put the hammer down right out of the water and try to hold that until mile 80, and then after that, just kind of put it in neutral.
Well, and we should. I mean, I think you suggest too, like, if you do eject, if you're carrying all your nutrition, you eject it early. You should stop and get it, right? I mean, it's
Oh,
like,
absolutely. If you
not
can't,
only is it illegal to leave it, but you should.
yeah,
You don't want to.
you're not going to get penalized. I don't think if it ejects out, just on accident, because I think it happens frequently on bumpy spots. But I remember, yeah, I mean, unless you think it's going to be really, really dangerous. I mean, if it ejects, you literally stop your bike, set it down, walk backwards, pick it up, put it back on. What are you going to cost yourself? Maybe 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, but you're going to have everything that you need. You're not going to be, and you're already not going to be panicking in the first like 20 miles, which is like, again, you want things again to be very uneventful. And for me, in my opinion, it's that 2 hour mark. The first 2 hours should feel like what I would consider like almost stressful, easy.
Yeah.
Like,
Back to the
okay,
bottom.
I'm holding it in, I'm holding it in, I'm holding it in, I'm holding it in, I'm holding it in. Like, this is getting stressful. Like, when can I release?
Yeah. And one more thing I think about on that bottle thing is like just a little tip that I've had pretty good success with is I tape my bottles with duct tape to make them tighter in the cage. Because if you're not carrying if you don't have a nice cage that can hold the bottles through anything, that's a good way to make them a little thicker and they hold in there better. But yeah, so you're gonna hold back for the first 2 hours.
First 2 hours. I've got some specific limits that, as far as, because I arrived at the power meter, I've got some specific numbers that I want to stay below, and then a few ceilings in terms of short climbs and long climbs. Like, I like for for a short climb, 60 seconds or less. I don't want to go over 260 unless I don't have a choice. And then on any kind of a long climb that's longer than a minute, I don't want to exceed 240. So I don't want to burn any matches. And then if I'm on the flats, I never want to exceed 220 because I'm kind of getting up into zone 3, zone 4 territory. And once you trigger those zones and some lactic acid buildup, you can't go back. And so the first 2 hours, I've got some ceilings I don't want to go over, and then after the 2 hour mark, especially because the last 20 to 40 miles can be fast if you approach them correctly. You can make a lot of time back, but if you blow your load or you burn your biscuit before then, you will be in trouble.
Speaking of, I don't remember exactly, but you said 60-minute or 60-second climbs. Is there a lot of that kind of stuff out there? Or, I mean, do you feel like, do you remember if there's a lot of long climbs? I feel like there's more
not.
Shorter.
They're all kind of short.
But pinchers, yeah.
That's what I would call them. Yeah, they're not like the Trace or like the Blue Ridge Parkway where they're kind of like long, sustained, and gradual. They're just kind of more, pinchers and ones that you can sustain speed from the previous descent or coming down the other hill, unless you just which all the more reason to kind of hold and maintain a power of instead of going like 240 up and like chilling at like 100 down, just hold 180, or one, whatever your zones are, hold that the way up and hold that the way down and power yourself into the second one. Again, if you're in every age group except for 35, 39, then by all means stand up out of the saddle and go for it.
Yeah, and I'd say that same. I give that same advice to anybody in the 50, 54.
That's right. Yeah, get up out of that saddle, every hill out of the saddle, mash those gears, and then coast down.
I mean, you're not getting any younger, bro.
Seriously.
You're 50, 54. You gotta seize life right now. Get out of the saddle, like right out of the water. That first, 10 miles, just put the hammer into gear.
Yep.
50,
totally.
54 only. Anybody else, take it easy.
Yeah. You got time.
Yeah. So, that last 30 to 40 miles is relatively attainable,
Yeah,
and
but
but
it's
if you've got
only
it left,
if you got it left, and especially looking at the weather, we may have some pretty substantial wind. Uh,
oh, wind is going to be a
and here's the thing: is like there's really no such thing as like feeling like a gradual downhill once you get past mile 90 of an Ironman, because it ain't gonna feel like it.
hmm
It'll just feel like flat to whatever. But if you got juice left, you will pass a ton of people the last what I would say like last 75 last from mile 75 and on. If you have the ability and you have the energy and you've saved the legs and you've paced appropriately and your nutrition's been on point, and your effort feels reasonable, then you can pass a lot of people from mile 75 to the finish, if you have the legs. But if you have paced inappropriately, if you started out too fast, if you're one of those people whose highest power numbers the first 30 minutes of their race, then you will more than likely find yourself in the what I call the sit-up peloton, which is athletes who have burned their biscuits and who can no longer use their aero bars because they're so tired and their positions were poor and they're exhausted, so they're sitting up on their bike against the wind with tired legs, feeling like, is this ever going to end? And it's a much better feeling to be in your aero bars, cruising it and elevating the pace and passing those people than it is to be on the other side. So, your first 2 hours, think about your last 2 hours. That's how you should always think of it.
That's good. That's good. Now, and then when you come in on River Road, it's the same 10-mile stretch roughly that you come in. It's flat. It could be windy. It could be this or that. I was up there last year watching people dismount. The dismount is on the road, just so you know. It used to be down that like sidewalk area that goes
Yeah, but
into transition.
there's a big lip coming up there. You don't want to come in there either.
No, you can't.
Right.
They moved
Nor
the
do you
dismount.
want to, I would say, yeah.
Yeah, but the point I was just trying to get is to get in your head that when you're not making that turn to go back into transition, so you're getting off in the road, because I would say at least half the people last year were 2 to 3 bike lengths off or past the dismount line before they got off their bike. And whether or not there was penalties assessed, I don't know. But just be kind of chill once you're coming into that area, because it's like you get off and then you immediately turn right, because if you're going too fast, you can just go right through the fence. But then there's quite a long run both out and back into transition. So be prepared. I mean, I don't know if you feel better running in your shoes or barefoot, but just think about that ahead of time when you're dismounting. If you're skilled enough to dismount with your shoes on your pedals, but otherwise, play it safe there, because I saw that people falling into each other and all kinds of stuff last year. So then you get in the back to transition, you put on your run gear, and it's balls out, right? No.
Out of the gate, sub 7, sub 8, whatever you can hold on to for a 5K, because you're just gonna end up walking anyway. No, all kidding aside. You should, for me, I want to come out of the gates, not feeling like I'm coming out of the gates, feeling like I'm in a very controlled state, very calm, feeling like I can hold this for as long as I need, and then just doing my best to hold on to that pace, whatever it is. And just acknowledging that while, if I make it to mile, I don't know, 13 and start to feel a lot of pain, I know it's going to be a really, really long day. But if I can make it to mile, 18, 20, then I know that I can just go to, I can just go, and feel just rally and go in whatever dark place or pain I need to go to and just go. But yeah, it's going to be to stay really, really controlled, take those first 2 to 3 miles to find my legs, get in nutrition. It probably will start to get warm, so it's getting cool, getting water on myself and ice, from the first aid station, and then I know at that point it's about trying to maintain maintain pace for as long as I can, and acknowledging that I'm going to have to elevate my effort to maintain said pace, and just, see how, it's not how fast you can go, it's who slows down the least. And that's the ultimate battle.
Yeah, and I think once you when you're coming out of transition, really, there's, I think, more or less the only there might be another one little hill under the bridge or whatever, but there's like the one uphill is kind of that first mile when you're coming out of the you come out of transition, take a right, and then you go down a little bit, and then you come up, and then it's not anything I would call a major hill or anything like that, but it's a good, maybe a good reminder, like you're saying, is once you get off the bike and it looks like it's going to be a little hotter than we thought, and that's a really good time to think about cooling down.
Yep.
You just got off your bike, you just sat in a hot plastic tent, and your engine is starting to overheat right there. So it's a good idea to think about that first mile, 2 miles, to really get that core temperature down as much as you can. Or because, like you always say, it's like once it gets up, it's really hard to get it down. So if you push it even harder off the bike the first 2 miles, you're going to be in for a load of pain or challenge, I think.
Yeah, big time challenge. But yeah, the longer you can go without, and that's ultimately I think a part of it that everyone should recognize and really approach their run with, is that you want to delay that oncoming feeling of, here we go. I know it's going to hurt from this point out. Because in your head, it's like, man, if you get that at mile 10, you're like, shit, this day is going to blow. And mentally, it's going to be really, really hard to hang on. But if you can stave it off and hit, like, for me, like, even if I can get to like mile 14 or 15, and I'm like, I still feel pretty good. Like, I don't feel great. We've already done 130 miles. You're not going to feel great. But if you can feel like, my legs don't feel like rocks yet, then you have a really, really, really good chance of doing something really, really special.
Yeah, and it's just a little bit about the run course in general. If you're it's very flat, as we all know, but once you get out there, and I know that you're big into this, and you get out by Churchill Downs, and you really soak that in and look at the sights around Churchill Downs and really have a good time with that. Is that right?
Apparently, I never even knew it existed on the run course.
You've never seen Churchill Downs?
Never seen it.
I've
first time, never seen it.
Yeah, I think they actually, I don't know, I've heard there's been small, subtle changes around there because of some construction, but who knows. Yeah, it's the Churchill Downs is there somewhere. Whether or not we go by it anymore, I don't know, but even when you do, you don't really even notice it. It's a good thing they don't make you run around on that track like some Ironmans do.
Yeah.
That was a dirt track?
I don't even know.
Yeah. Anyway.
But I'm gonna keep my eyes peeled for it this year.
Yeah. When you come around for that second loop, you'll see the split to the finish, and then you'll duck around to the right, and you'll go through special needs. It's at right about the halfway point, right?
Which is almost like demoralizingly close to finish line.
Yeah. And I'm definitely sure that most of us, when we go around there, we're going to be hearing other people getting called out as Ironman, and we've got 13 miles to go.
Love that feeling.
The unending turnaround of the Louisville run course.
Yep.
Sort of this out and back forever land.
Yeah, but hey, once you've made that turn, you know that you're over halfway. And for me, if I can, as soon as I get to the turnaround to come back into town, even though it's still a good 7 miles, I can start to feel the finish and think I can just kind of, I don't know, black out for the next hour.
I was just going to say, I forget who I am if I remember who I am at that
You're
point.
like, I can just black out for the next hour and just like, here we go. But yeah, so I mean, if you can make it to mile 18 and before you get to like what I would call your dark place, then you're just in like I would consider, if you make it to mile 10 and then you start to feel your dark place, then you're probably in trouble. If you can make it past the turnaround, like past the halfway point, at 13, 14, if you can make it to that without being in that dark place, bonus.
Mm-hmm.
If you can make it to mile 18, 19 before you start to feel it, amazing day ahead of you.
Mm-hmm.
And you can rally and think of the finish line and know that you've just got this much longer to be in pain, and take it one aid station at a time, and get the job done.
Mm-hmm. It'll be a great feeling once you get 2 to 3 miles out. Even if you can't hear it, I think you can start hearing it. Hear the finish line, feel the energy of it for certain.
Yeah, you'll be hallucinating so bad anyway. It's, you can just make stuff up in your head.
Yeah, just remember. And then, you come down a awesome finishing chute, loud, celebratory, cheering beauty that carries you across the line like you're floating through air.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely a cool experience coming down the 4th Street in Louisville.
It's my favorite.
Yep. And then afterwards, you just duck into one of those. I got to tell you, 4th Street has changed a lot since we did it. There's tons of restaurants around there now.
Good.
Yeah.
We could use some good eats there.
Yeah, it's gotten a lot
Friday
more
and Saturday
trendy,
night.
and there's
Okay,
definitely
good.
a lot more stuff around there based from the last time we did it.
Sweet.
So you just duck in and get yourself a burger or a vegan quinoa replacement, something.
Yeah, sure, man.
Yeah, well, we tried the
To
vegan
each their
thing.
own.
Yeah. Other than that, yeah. Look, if you're racing, if you're going to go up there and you're going to be there watching or racing or whatever, look for the C26, the Crushing Iron hats and shirts, and introduce yourself. And hopefully, you've gotten some out of this to maybe one thing at least to make you have a better day up at Louisville.
Mm-hmm.
Or down at Louisville, wherever you're coming from. But anyway, that is the Crushing Iron podcast. It's our race week. We're going to be up there in a few days, and looking forward to it. Looking forward to meeting everybody. Say hi.
Yeah, please do. Please say hi. Don't feel like you're, at least on Thursday and Friday, say hi. Don't feel like you're, inconveniencing either one of us. I'll have my C26 hat on and something, with a nasty beard. So, say hello, and we look forward to seeing everybody else out there and doing good stuff and having an awesome race.
Yeah, and if you like it, join. We've got a closed Facebook group, and you can get in there by searching Crushing Iron Group, Crushing Iron Group, and we'll let you in there. And that's where a lot of great people have been exchanging and sharing awesome comments for almost a year now.
Yep.
This is our 101st podcast. Please,
101.
If you like what you're hearing, please leave a review on iTunes. It helps other people find the podcast. And we appreciate everybody listening. Enjoy your week. Get pumped for Louisville. It's going to be an awesome time.
Yep. Best of luck, and we'll see you at the finish line.
All right. Catch you later, Coach.
See you, man.
All right. Bye-bye.